Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Eric. I've been training people in physical activity for years. At the moment, I'm trying to go pro, make that a professional thing. Currently, studying exercise, sports science, all that stuff. And this is my gym journal. So, if you do me the pleasure of sitting around, listening, I've got a few ideas to share. Maybe you've got a few ideas to shoot back. We're all here to get better. So today was back, right? So let me get rid of these. There you go. Can you see me? Um, oh shit, I can't read though. But yeah, so today we did back. Excuse me. And what does a back day look like? Well, some back days depend on what you're looking to build. We are in a growth stage, but you will notice that there's no deadlifts. I'm not a power lifter. If you were a power lifter, I'd say do deadlifts without a doubt in my mind. Powerlifter, strongman, that kind of stuff. But we're bodybuilding. So I go for more, I guess, specific compound exercises, something where we can get a good eccentric, a good, contraction, stuff like that, Deadlift's awesome in engaging the body in all sorts of manners, but it's all isometric, back up, it's all isometric work, and we want to be able to do some eccentric loading and concentric loading, don't we? So what do my exercises look like? Well, we start off with the machine row, the good old, if you're coming from Anytime Fitness, it'll be a hammer strength row. It's essentially the one where you've got that big pad here, you reach over, you've got some plates down below, and you're just ripping them back into yourself. Now, whatever your hand position you like, some people like to grab it up like this right at the top, and that's actually fantastic. If you can do two hands, stand up, reach over the top, you've already got that stretch, and then you sit down, you've taken up the weight, right? But you're fully stretched out, so you can just fully let go, let that rip your your back muscles apart. If you're doing reps from there, you're under tension the whole time across beyond full range of motion, and that's fantastic way to grow hypertrophy, right? So, we'll start to gloss over the warm-ups. I do warm-ups for every exercise, and I recommend you do it too, especially for the first exercise and those compound exercises. But so we're starting off, and it's 3 minutes rest, 4 minutes rest, 5 minutes rest for those 3 working sets. At 70 kilos. 70 kilos on the plates. It looks like a lot of weight, but with the weight levers working all that, it gets easier, right? I'm not just picking 70 kilos up off the ground. That would be insane. So, 12 reps. Then we swap side, 12 reps. So we're really doing 24 reps, but, unlike, say my curls where it's 1, 2, 3, all the way to 20, we're doing 12 reps. Have a breather. We're doing 12 reps, and that's one set, okay? So it's broken down into two halves of 12. We call it 12, so I guess one rep would really be like 1. And we go through all the rest. And then you would match that on the other side, okay? So if you didn't match it, what would that look like? Well, it would be like, you'd have to note it down like, right, 12 reps, left, 11 reps. And you'd have to really look at that, go back through your programming. We'll talk about programming in the future. And if it's just one rep off, you would just not progress, and you would just keep doing it until you balanced it out. Or maybe you would start with this side next time. And that would be how you balance it out, But, whenever we're talking unilateral exercises, one side's got to be stronger than the other side, okay? And then, so that'll be our horizontal pulling movement. There you are. And what about a vertical pulling movement? And, your 2 options, really. 3 options, actually. I've got a curveball for you. Would be heaves, pull-ups, chin-ups, lat pull down, or a high row. Now, what on earth is a high row? Whenever people make fun of people doing the lat pull down wrong, that's a high row. So, ideal lat pull down form looks something like that. Okay, you kind of start out like this, and you bring the cable down in line with your chest. Now, how's a high row look different? Well, you see how people sort of begin with the cheat, so they kind of and they lean back into it, and it kind of changes the angle. You do lift more, which is very cool. They say it's more dangerous, so be wary. But anyway, we did high rows. I still call it lat pull downs because it's not that crazy for me, really. I call it lat pull downs, but some people may call it high rows. You okay? And You know, maybe people are like, you're lat pull downing wrong. Lat pull downing wrong. Just turn around and say you're doing high rows, okay? Get him out of there. And so back. Now we're talking about secondary activations. We will talk about secondary activations, which would be the biceps, okay? But to make that fit into my program, we do secondary activations on opposite days. So it's actually back and triceps, okay? Chest, biceps, back, triceps. And we'll talk about this maybe once I get through a few cycles and talk about progressions, stuff like that. Maybe why I've chosen this and that. But anyway, the next exercise then, moving into triceps, would be the classic, the most ambiguous tricep exercise you probably see, the tricep cable push down, okay? This is a pushing movement. I do it with a rigid bar because you really grip onto that, right? And you just lean forward. And you see how whenever I lean forward, the elbow kind of contracts more and more and more. Whenever you got a weight here, that's really squeezing against your tricep, okay? And whenever this, you want to get the most eccentric stretch that you can get, okay? That's where most of the growth is. So you essentially want to lean in, and you see that I've bound up here. There's just muscles in the way. So that would basically be your stopping point. And then from there, you kind of push out. And now your knees might get in the way. Now, I go for the rigid bar. There are downsides to it, in the sense of whenever you fatigue, you might start, kind of chest pressing it down. But again, if we're talking about the eccentric being the best part, if you're, first 8 out of 12 reps look good, and then it starts to break down, but you're still hitting the eccentric right, maybe something that you wish to, continue pursuing. I don't see any injury coming from controlling the eccentric. If you can. Most injuries come from not being able to do that, in my opinion, from what I've seen on the internet. And it checks out, right? If you can't hold the eccentric on a barbell chest press, it's collapsing onto you. But if you can control the eccentric, it's a chilled out journey to having the bar rest on your chest. It's not chaotic or anything like that. So the same thing applies with any exercise. So 3 sets of that. We actually pulled out the full stack, 35.2 kilos for 14 reps, 3 sets. Not bad. 2 minutes rest in between them, just because we're getting to those easier exercises. So we start to, modify load by, we can reduce rest, increase weight, increase reps. Well, with these exercises, the mechanism of hypertrophy is going to be more based on maintaining that pump, maintaining that burn, okay? Now, if you can do that with adequate reps and weight, maintaining that burn is another good way to, leverage hypertrophy and grow. And then the next exercise, moving back into back, we're going to be working on the rear delts, okay? Now, a rear delt fly, pick your favorite, really. One that you can do, one that you enjoy, one that fits into your exercise programming. So, this will tie into the following exercise, but I'll be doing rear delt flies with dumbbells, okay? Now, standing up, I've done it before. Just standing up, and then you just really kind of bend over. Dumbbells basically on the floor. They're light. This is a very lightweight exercise. You can get away with doing anything, really. And it's just kind of, or if you can flare out more, do it. Because that longer lever puts on more, stress on the deltoid without necessarily being a heavier weight. And then what I've done is I'm doing it sitting down. So on the very end of a bench, doing that movement, okay? Today, unfortunately, all the benches were taken. So I had to do that movement on a jump box, like a plyo box kind of thing. So sitting down, kind of low to the ground. It was difficult to get the full wings, full arm length out. So maybe we were doing a bit of face pulls, maybe getting into that territory. Same kind of exercise for the deltoids. Just, be aware that if you're doing a face pull, the weight's bigger, but the lever is shorter. So, the force on the deltoid, maybe even less, for all the weight that you're throwing into your back to help support that exercise, stuff like that, may not be worthwhile in the long term. And then last final exercise. So we've moved on to a bench, or we do eventually find a bench, and we're in the dumbbells. So what do you think's last? Well, the actual word for this exercise, like a dumbbell skull crusher. Essentially, you're laying down on the bench. And I used to see Rich Piana do this. So in my mind, and I write it down everywhere, I talk to people about it in person, they're just called Rich Piana skull crushers. Dumbbell Rich Piana skull crushers. So imagine I'm laying down on the bench, just kind of ready to do a fly, okay? Got 2 dumbbells, ready to do a fly, but instead of bringing it out, we're just bringing it in, you know? And if you want to increase stretch at the top here, what you do is you kind of bring the whole elbow up, I guess, relative to your head, and that increases the stretch in the very top part of the tricep. Okay, and then you would just be doing reps from there. Okay? So, 3 working sets again for 17.5 kilos, 14 reps. If you were doing this first up, absolutely, you could do much heavier weights. But, you know, especially after the tricep cable push down, stuff like that, this is a burner to cap off the exercise. Yeah, so whatever you can manage without hurting yourself. You know, don't overload your joints and stuff like that. Definitely keep within a weight that you can manage without hurting yourself. But, you know, you always want it to be challenging. You always want to be progressing. So for that reason, 17.5 kilos, 14 reps, 3 sets. That's enough for me to cap off the exercise. It was getting really crowded in there. But, you know, and if you can share, makes everyone's life better. And maybe you'll get some friends in the gym. Lord knows I am. So yeah, thank you for watching. Be sure to, you know, like, comment, subscribe if you're into that. You know, you guys are all coming from Instagram probably, but you know, if you're not, feel free to, you know, follow me on Instagram. It's just the Ali B. Probably find a similar profile picture. But yeah, so thank you for watching the video, and have a good night.